Okay, here we have an IBM Thinkpad T42. This was originally released in the spring of 2004. This particular laptop shipped out with a 1.6 gig Dothan Pentium M, 768 megabytes of RAM, and an ATI Mobility Radeon 7500. I received it in a box of junk laptops, and it had a punctured screen, but it still turned on and seemed to run fine otherwise. So I disassembled it, cleaned it up, put new thermals on it, and then upgraded the RAM to the motherboard's max of 2 gig. Then I finally swapped the toplet out with one from a T43P I coincidentally had laying around that had a lot of cooling problems. Let's install Debian on it. I think for the sake of being old school here, go off a disk. I put a 128 gig, it was a Crucial mSATA SSD in here. The original hard drive in this was an IBM Travelstar, and got this one out of the old T43P. This has Windows 2000 on it, and it's an old 5400 RPM 80 gig hard drive. No, it's 7200 RPM. Putting a 128 gig SSD in this made a noticeable difference for performance. Debian's one of the last holdouts among Linux distros that still offers full native 32-bit support. This laptop is 18 years old. .6 gig Pentium M. Not all too different from the 2 Allen Pentium 3. Fingerprint reader. Trackpad, which is almost never used because it has the track point. I love the track point. The T42 is pretty much, as far as I know, the last completely IBM ThinkPad. I have a T43P, and that's kind of a weird hybrid with lots of IBM branding and some Lenovo copyright. Not sure about the regular T43 or the T42P. So I have a bit of a preference to the T42 over the T43P, just for how hot the T43P ran. It was marginally more powerful. But this laptop here runs very cool, especially with the mSATA SSD in it. Some would say it's limited by its IDE or parallel ATA interface, but it offers arguably noticeable performance increase, much faster boot times, and I'm actually convinced. I am pretty convinced that this laptop can still be quite usable. Just running Debian, just running Linux and a lightweight desktop environment. Before I decided to install Debian on this, before I settled on Debian, I was thinking about trying to put Windows 10 on this. Like I said, Windows 8.1 does run on it, and Windows 7 runs particularly nice. Getting Windows 8.1 to work was a bit of an ordeal, and for it, even Vista does not have support for hardware, the graphics card and hardware acceleration. After all, it was designed for Windows XP. But I'm pretty sure Debian would. Pretty sure Debian will. Really liking this option here. Going for LXDE. It's been running for a little over 20 minutes. I'll be really, really happy if I can get hardware acceleration working on this. That would give this a truly modern OS to thrive on. Otherwise, I guess the best option, some would say Windows XP. Take it a step further and say might as well go with Windows 2000 at that point. How much longer do you think Debian will support 32-bit CPUs? I guess as long as there's still demand, as long as there's still a community around it for another decade, then there'd probably still be support. You hear it reading off of the DVD drive. Maybe I should have used a flash drive, but you're gonna just go old school and go off a disk. That's probably why it's been going so slow. Had I used a flash drive, it probably would have been much, much faster. By and large, there's no better option than running something like a Linux distro, or I guess ultimately maybe BSD. BSD would probably run very well on this. I've always wanted to try out BSD, so maybe because this laptop is so versatile in the number of operating systems that support it, that it still has native Windows 3.1 support and OS2 support, and it can still install a modern operating system like Debian. This particular build of Debian just came out in the past 2 weeks. That's pretty cool. It's really in a sweet spot. So I might actually take a crack at trying to install maybe FreeBSD or OpenBSD on this, just to see how it runs, and maybe I'll take a shot at installing OS2, because I always kind of wanted to try that, and maybe upgrade that to, I don't know, Windows NT 4, or Windows NT 4 still had HPFS support, but didn't have it built in, so you had to upgrade from a pre-existing HPFS system from like Windows NT 3.5. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of trick for getting even Windows XP to work with HPFS. Doing it is pretty pointless by and large. HPFS being sort of the forerunner of NTFS, and sort of a half step between FAT, in terms of it supported longer file names, but as far as I know, it lacked the more advanced journaling system of NTFS. But it was certainly a step in the right direction, and it was one of the pioneering things that differentiated OS2 from DOS. Looks like we're getting near the end of the install. Next thing to test out will be whether or not the dual boot works. Do we have grub? Yes, we do. Oddly, it's reading this as Windows 8, when it's Windows 7. Let's see what happens. Okay. And we got Windows 7. Gonna let Windows boot first. Okay. So Windows works fine. It's been a while since I did anything with this laptop. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this camera's giving me a hard time. I'm pretty sure at one point I did try to install BSD, and then I just forgot about it. Forget what the objective was there. Control D logging me out still. Yes, it does. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, here it is with the single core. Here we have a single core. And Debian's using about 428 megabytes of RAM. It's looking real nice. Much. Always allowed to run private windows. For curiosity's sake. Just go to YouTube and just try to watch a video. I don't believe this has hardware acceleration yet. I think when I was watching this boot, it said didn't have the firmware for the Radeon. This is a Radeon. It's a very old Radeon. Everything that YouTube recommends kind of sucks.
hotels. I dare you to find her if you can. We gotta find the princess. And you gotta help us. If you need instructions on how to get through the hotels, check out the enclosed instruction book. Looks kinda peaceful. Looks at the ceiling when Kulas are involved. Here's the problem. Too many toasters. You know what they say? All toasters toast toast. That ought to do it. Where'd she go? It's kinda dark. You might have right. No. Maybe a coma will let us in. If we persuade them. Get ready to catch her. She's not coming down. She's up there. It's hard to see through those clouds. I hope we can get rid of them. Yep, yep. Aha! Get up, my cloud! It's been one of those days.